Three. All right, welcome back to the Noble Shire for Progressive Discussion. Today, Hannah Wyatt here at Progressive Rock Central. She's going to be talking about her brand new album, Sunday Cowboy. Hannah is, of course, from Bellingham, where I'm at, and she may tell us more about where she's from beyond that. But she's one of the um, artist that's on the Washington's Records label. And there's some special things we're going to talk about this actual album, how it's made, and things like that. But welcome, Hannah, and you tell us a little bit about you or
Okay.
say hi.
Yeah. Hello. So I'm living in Bellingham now. We've lived here for 2 years. We were in Mount Vernon for a year before that. But before that, I was living on the East Coast because I'm from the East Coast. Um, I
Where?
was I was born and raised in upstate New York, so like around the
Oh, no kidding.
Syracuse area, Baldensville. Um,
Where?
Baldensville near Syracuse.
My mother's passed, but she was from Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
Unbelievable. My
Yeah.
dad my dad played for the Orangemen way
Wow.
back in the 50s. If you know who Jim Brown was, a famous actor, he played football with Jim Brown. So,
That's
wow.
amazing.
And I
Yeah.
think um, I was just talking to my wife about this because there was something on TV. I think Mike Tyson is from the Catskills, or
Mm.
isn't that the honeymoon area?
Hmm.
I think that's where my parents went for their honeymoon.
Yeah.
It's right
Romantic.
up near there.
Hmm.
Beautiful in the fall. Beautiful
Yeah.
place in the fall. Yeah, we used to
Yeah.
go up there all the time. All right, sorry about that. Go
No,
ahead.
I see. So yeah, so lived there till I was 8, and then we moved to Florida because my dad loves the warm weather, and we stayed there until I graduated high school, and then I went to college in North Carolina. I went to Elon University, and then I lived in Colorado for just a summer, working a job there. And that's Tim and I met. He drove out to meet me there, and then he helped me move back out to Washington that fall, later that fall. So it's been a little over 3 years now that I've lived in Washington, and I really like it here. So we're
Wow.
settled in Bellingham.
We've almost crossed paths. That is eerie because, like everyone from the Northeast or where I'm from, as you can see, Cleveland,
Hmm.
the Midwest, everyone wants to go to Florida. So we
Hmm.
went to Orlando, and then my wife and I actually moved to Tampa. And then,
Okay.
just like you, my originally when I was like 20s, I went to Colorado hoping for mountains and a change
Hmm.
from Florida. And
That's so funny.
is that what you did? Or
Well, yeah, I guess I had a summer job as a live sound engineer for a musical theater place in Colorado. It was just a one-off thing. And I wanted to just see if I liked Colorado. So I wanted to take a temporary job. I lived in like a temporary housing, and I guess I was expecting something very different. I thought Colorado was I didn't know that there was desert elements. I hadn't
there you
like
go.
done a lot of research on it. So I guess I imagined it kind of more like how
Here.
the snow yeah, like the snowy evergreen parts are, but there was so much desert and I couldn't hang with that. And I was getting vertigo all the time from the elevation, and so I'm glad I didn't like buy a year rental or anything. So the 3 months was perfect. I realized didn't want to live there, so was just there
Were
for a
you there
summer.
in the winter?
Summer.
Oh, good, because
Yeah.
the winter is terrible. It's so dry.
Yeah.
And my skin, I mean, I constantly have to put hand lotion on
Hmm.
because my hands were a mess. Um, and I almost the exact same thing. I went there thinking it'd be all mountains and
Hmm.
beautiful. And Denver, no.
It was
If you go
hot
to
too.
Colorado Springs, isn't bad, but
Yeah.
Denver was the wrong place. It's like Orlando.
Yeah.
Don't if you go to Florida,
Yeah.
don't go to Orlando. If you go to
Hmm.
Colorado, don't go to Denver. Go to Colorado Springs, somewhere like
Hmm.
there.
Well,
Aspen,
I
Aspen. If you
lived
can afford it.
I lived 45 minutes from Orlando when we were in Florida. I was in Melbourne.
Oh yeah, no, that's
So
nice. Yeah,
it was
you're
close
Space
enough that
Coast.
when I was a kid, we would go to the theme park. We'd like the theme park passes. We'd go all the time, and it was just close enough. But it wasn't, in Orlando. We weren't near Orlando, so
And Melbourne is a Space Coast, so you probably saw.
correct. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're old enough to see the shuttles go off, but I was, and we used to go over
Hmm.
there and watch that.
Hmm.
Were you old enough for that, or?
Um, I can't remember. It was 2008 when we moved there.
Oh no,
Um,
yeah, there was 80s.
okay.
Yeah,
uh, but we would like see things take off and
yeah,
feel it rumble from our backyard. So we were definitely close enough for, and that's something that I miss. That was a really cool element
yeah.
of living there, but I couldn't hang with the heat anymore. It
It
just
is.
gets to me. So
It does. At least over there you had a breeze, but yeah, in the
yeah,
summer it is brutally hot. But
yeah.
Orlando, there's no breeze. Yeah.
Hmm. Stagnant.
Well, enough of the bad stuff. Let's not talk about that anymore.
Yeah, I'm glad to live in Washington now. I've always wanted to live here, so I made it work, and I love it.
And they're getting around. We're going to talk about their video. Their video is filmed in one of my favorite places near here in Bellingham. But let's talk just real quickly about your background, how you got into music. Um, why did you choose that as and it may not be your full career. You may have another job as well, but why music?
Okay.
You got a
So,
beautiful voice. That
well,
and
thank you.
my wife says the same thing, and everyone that
Well, thank
I
you.
played the music for, they love it. But
That's so
go ahead.
nice.
Sorry.
Um, so my family isn't really like a musical family. My mom plays guitar and sings like covers of stuff. But she's like the only one that plays music other than me. I think my dad's late mother played the harp, but
Oh wow.
so it was just kind of a couple people here and there. So when I was growing up, my mom would show me some like simple guitar chords and stuff, and I got like a Hannah Montana guitar when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
Um, and it wasn't anything that I like took. I've been playing violin since I was 7 or 8, and that was my main thing. So all my energy went there. So like playing the guitar and singing and stuff wasn't like a big focus or anything. I was more involved in violin, and I did some musical theater and dance and the other stuff. And but then eventually, like around middle school, high school, I started learning more guitar and trying to songwrite. And I would go to some like music summer camps and do some songwriting, like learning how it works. Um, and I think it was my freshman year of high school, I put out like a little EP for the first time, or maybe my sophomore year. But and after that, I just kind of kept going slowly. Like I never like took a break or anything or gave up on it. I just kind of made it for myself and would just record a song here and there or a little EP here and there. And then eventually by the end of high school, I really liked the recording process. So I went to college for audio engineering, just to get better at the recording process. And throughout that, I learned a lot, obviously, about which I care a lot more about the recording process than the performing of. I don't really like to play my music live. It just kind of stresses me out. It's not
Nervous.
something I enjoy doing, like how some people like live for that. I care much more about the like arrangement of, the strings or planning the harmonies and recording it and mixing it. And that's what I care about. So I'm glad I went to college for that. Um, but it didn't turn into a full-time career because I guess I didn't realize until it was a little too late that you really have to live in like one of the main huge cities to have
New
any
York.
shot of having a full-time career doing that, and that's just not something I'm okay with. So I am now a graphic designer as my 9 to 5,
Oh,
which is something I had a background in high school anyway, so it worked out. And then I just do music just for me, just for fun on the side, and then if other people like it, that's great. But I really just make the songs how I want them to sound. And then I also a lot of my time also goes to working with other people like local artists recording for them. I just wrapped up recording and producing Jeff Mack's album. I don't know if you've met Jeff Mack or seen
I
him
haven't
online.
yet. No,
He's
I've
so good.
seen the notices on Washington's records, but I haven't
Yeah.
yet. And
If
I
you
think
come to
that's
our house show, he'll be performing at our Christmas house show next month if you come.
I'm gonna try. And
Cool.
I think Sam Chu
Hmm.
invited me to try to meet him and all that. And I definitely want to. It's during well, it's not yet the holidays, but during the
Hmm.
holidays it's busy.
Right.
But I definitely want to. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
I just
amazing.
want to ask you about the violin because I am a teacher as well. And was that in elementary or middle school that, did you have classes and they got you involved in violin, or is it just something that you did on the side?
So, when I was in third grade in New York, the year before we moved to Florida, that's when they had a string program. And so they started you in third grade in New York, which was so nice because
Yeah.
in Florida, they didn't start you until fifth grade, which
Oh,
I
wow.
think is way, way too late.
Yeah.
So I had an advantage. I was 2 years ahead of, once I moved to Florida, I was 2 years ahead of everybody else. So that was super helpful. um, so yeah, so it was with a string program in New York. And then one of the reasons why my parents moved to where they moved in Florida is because they looked into the school system and the music programs, and the one in Melbourne was great. So I had a great like classical community there. So when you think of Florida, you don't really think of
No.
the arts and classical music, but Melbourne actually had like it was a great area for me to grow up like competitively and get good at violin. Had a great teacher for the entire time I was there. I had the same teacher.
Yeah.
Um,
You can't beat that. Yeah. You got a
yeah.
good,
So, and now I play in the
yeah.
Skagit Symphony, and I
Oh,
record their concerts for them too. And then sometimes I sub with the Bellingham Symphony, because they need subs sometimes. So, but I can't commit to both full time because I'm doing so many things. Like I have no free time. So,
wow. But that's good. That's good that you're involved in all that.
mhm. Yeah, I love
Excellent.
it.
All right. Talk a little bit about, and I talked to Sam and Tim, I think, at the same time
Mhm.
about the new album. I mean, not the your album, but the process of the PET plastic records.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you, yeah, talk a
Well,
little bit more
I'm
about
not
that?
as much of an expert on the details as Sam would be, but I think the idea is that PVC has a harmful like carbon footprint. It's not good for the environment, it off gases, and it's also not good for your body when it's like playing in your house. Apparently there's been a bunch of research on how it's actually harmful for you. So there's been a couple companies making records out of PET plastic. And I don't know if have you gotten to hold one yet from one that
I
Washington's has
think
done?
I think I have Tim's or Sam's.
Okay.
It's in back of me here somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, I have. And they're lighter, if I
Well,
remember.
they're more durable. Like you can they're not as easily bendable. They're like thicker and more
Oh,
durable.
maybe.
So it's actually better and they last longer. Um it sounds just as good. Like they've done studies where like they have audiophiles A, B, and they like can't even tell the difference. So it's like all positives. There's no like, oh, but then there's this. It's like everything's a positive. So I'm super excited about it.
And I
It's
think
crossed that the records will be here in time because we're having some delay issues right now that are making me and Sam super nervous. But so hopefully the records will be in our hands by the time of the release party. If not, we can just have people like pre-order them while they're there, but I'm really hoping that they're here on time. So
now when you say they're here on time, because I think I remember him saying that some of them were made in Holland. Are these coming from Holland or these are made
um
here in the US?
this is where I don't really know all the details.
Okay.
So like green vinyl is based in the Netherlands, but we're working right now with Good Neighbor, which I think is like working with green vinyl. And I think that they're like the American locations. I'm not sure. I
Okay.
might be wrong about that. I would verify with Sam, but um Yeah, we're having some delays right now because like one of my tracks was missing from the
Oh no.
so just like things that hold it up. So
Important things, yeah.
yeah, so hopefully it works out. But yeah, the idea of the PET plastic I'm super for. It's like an amazing, innovative new
Yeah.
way to do records, and I think it's really catching on. So
Good. Good.
yeah.
All right. Tell us just a little bit more about your influences. Who are some of your favorite bands? Who influenced you to, I mean, I know you're coming up with your own songs, you're doing your own
Mhm.
songwriting, but who do you listen to when you're not playing your own music?
I actually don't really consume music a lot, especially like anymore. I've never had a streaming service. I like refuse to give my money to them.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really consume music a lot. If I'm not playing music myself or doing something, if I like when I'm at work and I'm listening to something, I'm usually listening to like podcasts or something like informational or something that I have to listen to, like a symphony I'm learning. Um, so I don't really listen to music for like I don't consume it as entertainment. And part of it is because um, I don't I fear being too influenced.
Influence.
So like before I used to listen to music more, like in high school and college I would listen to well just some
Yeah.
examples that not necessarily that I try to write like now anymore, but when I was first coming into like indie music, um Gregory Alan Isakov was big for me in high school. He's gotten a little more mainstream now, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. um Blind Pilot, who's based in Astoria, Oregon. um let's see, the Civil Wars I really loved. uh,
Hello?
this I don't have like a litany of artists that I'm like you wouldn't know of them. um Actually DS or
Your your internet kind of locked, so I missed
oh
those last couple.
oh okay,
Did you?
the Civil
No,
Wars I really liked
I
them.
get that.
Blind Pilot. Let's see. Well, that's the thing is like when I was really learning, like getting into folk and indie music when I was in high school and college, I didn't have streaming then either. So it was just like stuff that I would discover online or YouTube or in a movie or something. But but yeah, I guess in the recent years I really haven't like listened to much new music. I'm not like a music consumer. I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes when I would listen to music more in college, I would wake up with like, oh, I have this great idea for a song, and I would write it down, and then like an hour later, I would realize I just wrote stable song,
Oh, okay. The internet's kind of going
is
in
like
and out.
riff on on the guitar or something. So um
Okay. Well, I think I mentioned to you that, and I think I actually went and put it back into the review, that it reminded me a little of Nico Case, which there are some elements of that. But the more I listen to it, and this is probably another name you've never heard of, um, Jonathan Wilson. He's brought back what's called the Laurel Canyon sound from California, and it was Joni Mitchell, uh, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. They used to live in the Laurel Canyon of California, and they used to all get together and just play music together. Well, Jonathan Wilson is newer artist anyway, but I was listening to his Gentle Spirit again, one of my favorite albums of all time. And I was like, oh my God, this almost sounds exactly like, no, not that you copied him. You probably don't even know who
Jonathan,
he is. But if you get a chance, check him out.
what was that album you said?
Gentle Spirit, Jonathan Wilson.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
But yeah, if you get a chance, just listen to it. And especially, um, I was just listening to it, Silver Canyon or something like that. Canyon
Hmm.
of the Silver Moon. It'll be like, oh my God, this is something. All right. Enough of that. All right, let me ask you this. Sam did this thing at I think I don't know if he told me this 101 or where it came from. But anyway, he called your sound Gothic Americana. Describe that. Tell me what that
Um,
means to you.
well, that's that's kind of hard to say because I think my last album, Hummingbird, was actually more along the lines of Gothic Americana than this one. Um, because Hummingbird was like a fully dark album. With a couple bright spots, but it was like mostly dark. This one, I don't know if I would like truthfully describe it as Gothic Americana until the end because it shifts from like brighter folk to darker indie. I think it just has to do with like just dealing with like the darker tinges of like themes or like things that could be cliche, but you take them into like an unexpected sort of darker. I don't. It's really hard to describe because it's all qualitative, right? Um,
All right.
but also just as some like examples, maybe instead of instead of using a guitar and you like EQ it so all the highs are gone, and so it sounds like someone kind of creepily playing in the room next door with like a slightly out of tune banjo or something. I don't know, just elements like that to make it a little unconventional, but it's not like goth or anything. When you hear gothic, I
No.
think it's just referring to like leaning into the darker side of our nature and exploring
All right.
that.
And there's another thing that you and Tim sort of share, and that's this fascination for the 1900s. And I think this show that's coming up, and you could talk about that show too, where you're going to, dress up and think, what is that? It's cool. It's very, very cool. But you don't see that a lot. Everyone's, pop and stuff like that. And I like it because it goes back to a time when
Hmm.
I think things were a little more, I don't know what the right word is, but
Yeah.
you tell me
I mean, I
what
can't
that
really
fancy.
explain it. I think I've always kind of felt like an old soul. I was always called an old soul as a kid. I've always been very drawn to like even as a kid I would want like the typewriters or the here, I'll show you. I have this on my table next to me.
Oh wow.
So I don't know. I've always been really into anything from that like time period, like Victorian through. I feel
Victor.
attached like in my soul to like from even like the 1700s up to like the 1940s or so. Like I feel connected to all these bits of time, and I'll just like fall in love with something like this. But Tim, were you at Tim's Conway Muse show
Y-
this past April?
I No, I think this is more June.
Okay. Well,
But he was there. I mean,
he
that's where I met you.
we had Tim's big show at the Conway, and we were all dressed up like Civil War sort of era Western cowboy. And that was so much fun. So this one's gonna be similar, except it's gonna be, a house show, and it's gonna be just like true Victorian. So I've started the process of decorating our house, but I'm
Oh
gonna
wow.
try to make it within a reasonable budget. I'm gonna try to make it look Victorian. So I don't know.
Like
We
the speakeasy, the way I
um
looked at it, like a 20s speakeasy.
no, we're
But
going further back than that, like
oh,
mid
okay.
1800s. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I just I love it. I love dressing up in that time period, and just I feel really attached to it. So I
I
we
was gonna
write
try
we
to
write
find a
about stories back then too a lot. So
I was gonna try to find my wife a flapper outfit, but nope, we won't do that.
yeah, go further back.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, yeah, that I'm telling you, that's gonna be a lot of fun. They're gonna um, relive the um, 1900s or the Victorian era. Yeah,
Hmm.
let's not.
Well,
And
every house party we throw has like a theme, so it's not like a new thing for us. We always have a theme. Like Tim's birthday, Meckling Fest. We have a Meckling Fest for his birthday every year, and this past one was retro futuristic. So it was like dress up as in the 1960s, what they thought the
yeah,
future was like. So we always have like silly themes like that. So it's
yep,
fun.
that's excellent. No, you gotta add some variety to life, definitely.
Mm,
And by the way, Bellingham has a lot of these Victorian homes, and there's even more
yes.
over in Port Townsend and
Oh my
places like
God.
that. So you see these things every day if you're
Yeah.
driving around here, and it's like, yeah, that was nice, and
That's the
people
dream, right?
really put a lot of effort into those homes back then, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so how has um, the album been received? Have you? I know it's you haven't, and I should have told everyone the release date. It's going to be December 21st. But
For the physical record. It'll be out online on the 13th.
okay, and have you got a lot of pre-orders? Hopefully,
We have, yes.
yeah.
I don't remember the exact number, but there's been a good amount, which is great.
And that's not just U.S. That's globally. Hopefully.
I'm not sure. I don't have access to that information. That would be a same question.
All right. Well,
But
hopefully after this,
yeah.
that'll happen. Because yeah, please get out there. It's really innovative music. It's different. No, it's not progressive, but it's progressive in nature because it's completely different. It's something that, like you say, I compared it to all these people, Jonathan Wilson and Nico Case, but it's not, anything exactly like that. It's just completely different. And in that way, it's progressive. She doesn't use all sorts of time signatures and things like that, like
Mhm.
Genesis or some of these guys in back of me, but it is in that way progressive. Um, and you have this party coming up, but do you also have shows that you're planning or a tour? I know
Oh,
you said you don't like to,
yeah.
but
I mean, I Friday, the 22nd, um, I'm gonna be at the honeymoon with Jeff Mack and Pete Rubel. I'm gonna do a few songs from the record, and then I'm gonna play violin for them. So it'll be a three-way thing. So that's this coming Friday, the 22nd, and then I have a few shows um in the new year that I can tell you
oh,
about.
okay. All right,
Let's see. Let me locate them.
no problem.
Um, so I have I have a show in January with a guy that I met. I mentioned Blind Pilot earlier. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm kind of buddies with them. And so when I was at their place this past spring on a tour with a friend of mine, I there was a big jam session and I met this a friend of theirs called Lake Laconic. And he's I was in the Astoria area with them, but he's doing a tour and he's coming up to Bellingham and he asked me to split a bill with him.
Oh,
Um,
good.
so that is January 31st at the honeymoon. So I
Okay.
think it's just me and him, and I might play violin with him too, maybe. And the day before, I'm gonna play a show with Jeff Mack and a friend of mine, Frankie McCabe, who you were
Yes,
there at her show, yeah.
I
Um,
know her. Yeah.
yeah, she's great. So
Very good.
Frankie,
Yeah.
Jeff, and I are gonna do a show on January 30th at the Conway Muse. So I'm gonna have two like back to back shows in late January. And I think for now that's the only confirmed ones. So two a little further down the line, which is kind of good because my album will already be out by then, so people can like buy it there at the show, which is nice. So
Excellent.
there might be more, plans, but as of right now, it's just those.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the video because we're running out of time, and then we're going to come back if you're
Okay.
willing. We'll come back
Mm-hmm.
and talk more in depth about the album. But the video was filmed at the Samish Overlook. There's a lot of different people call it Oyster. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, it has so many different names, but you have to either climb or drive up
Hmm.
to this top of this mountain. And when you look out, you can see the entire, well,
Hmm.
a lot of the Salish Sea, and you can see the San Juan Islands. But beautiful video, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we were like procrastinating on this video because we really wanted a super foggy day, and because we know it gets foggy up on like the Oyster Dome area. So we
Oyster-
had these like fog tracking apps, and we kept like looking when's it gonna be foggy. We were gonna wake up really early and go there, but it just never worked out. And so eventually I was like, we're getting way too close to the wire here. We need to just go up and film whatever we can film. And it just happened to be super windy that day. And I was like so happy with it. Like I thought I wanted fog, but the wind was actually so much cooler because it gave this
yeah.
movement, this like chaotic movement to the video. So I had Tim use, we have some old Canon cameras, and
Huh?
I gave it to him and I was just like, try your best. And so
He did.
it wasn't like it's not like Hollywood or anything,
Right.
but I think the fact that it's a little out of focus and a little, I think it makes it a little even more spooky, or
Yep.
fits the vibe.
More
So,
natural. Yeah.
and then I color graded it to be even more like dark and blue toned, and which is how I like my stuff to look. So it came together, and I had exactly the right amount of footage. It was like I shot just enough B-roll, and I used like every single clip we had, so it worked out.
Well, and some women just amaze me sometimes. I had one lady that dipped her body into the freezing cold uh, uh, English bay to
Hmm.
make her video, and it had to have been cold. You were in a dress. It had to have been cold up there.
It was. I didn't want to wear
It-
that cardigan I was wearing because
yeah,
that dress is the dress on my album cover, and I wanted you to
yeah.
be able to see it. But oh my God, yeah, I needed it. It was freezing.
Yeah, and it this time of year, it you need, like she said, the fog and the effects of
Hmm.
that eerie feeling, but you got to work hard to get it. You
Yeah,
got to go through some pain, yeah.
yeah.
But in the area that you're walking around with the trees, that's right below it.
So that was we drove all the way up to like the overlook with the parking lot first, and that's where we like went in some trails there.
Oh, okay.
And then we drove back down, and on the way back down, that's when we saw the like big kind of ragged tree trunk formation that I was
Yes.
like standing sideways, and
Yeah.
then the big hill with like the super sparse trees that was on the way back down. So it was a mixture of the two locations.
There's another place, Government Point, I think it's called. It's brand new, and it's going to be opening up, I hope, next year. It's right in that area,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you more about it. But that's going to be another place that is
Cool.
going to be awesome to. But the place that she's near is a place called Chuckanut Drive. If you
Hmm.
ever get a chance to drive that, please do. It's best not to go in the winter or in the fall because we just had a huge rock that came down and blocked the road. But it sits right on the edge of the water, and the views are just unbelievable.
Hmm.
And you've been there, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we are about to run out of time for this first one. Any last